Hey everyone, this is Bill from YouTube. So today I'm going to be talking about the Preview app. So if you have a MacBook, you already have the Preview app installed on here. You might not even realize it, but anytime you open up a picture or a JPEG, it's going to open up in the Preview app. Now, while it seems pretty basic, there's actually a lot of functionality to it that you might not be aware of. So let's start with the basics. Let's say you went on a trip and you took a ton of photos, probably too many, and you want to get rid of some of them. When you're in your folder, to look at many photos at once, you can go into the folder, hit Command A, which will select all, then just right click any one of them and hit Open. Now it's going to open up all of these in the Preview app, and you can scroll along on the left sidebar over here to look through all your photos. Now let's say I want to get rid of some of these photos as I'm looking through. You can right click the photo in the sidebar and hit Move to Trash. Now this is a pretty good trick, I think, for looking through a lot of photos at once and selecting which ones you want to keep or not. Now if you go up here to Tools and you hit Adjust Color, you're going to get a whole different set of options over here. And you can work on these as you're looking through all your pictures. But let's just take one, for example, at a time. So let's say I took this photo. This is of a place called Juthen, which is actually what was the inspiration for Spirited Away. You can't really see it from this photo. But if I go to Adjust Color, I get all my options over here. Now first you have your levels, so you have your midtones, your light tones, and your dark tones. So you can play around with these. If you're not happy with what you come up with, you can just click Reset All. Now you have an option for auto levels, which will have Preview automatically try and detect it, so it's not doing too much of a change over here. I'm going to reset it, but I think if you want to do some photo editing, it's best to learn these functions over here. You have your exposure, which tries to set it up just like a camera, how much light comes in. So very dark or very light. Let's reset that. Contrast. And now these are probably the most useful ones, I think, if you want to try and save a picture. Highlights, which if you turn up, will dim your brights. And shadows over here, which will make the dark spots kind of lighten up. So shadows can be pretty good for saving some detail sometimes. But you have to be careful because you can make things get a little too pixelated if you use it too much. But it actually looks pretty good on this one so far. Saturation, how bright the colors are. You don't want to overdo it too much. The goal is to make your photos look believable, not like they've been photo edited. And if you turn it all the way down, it'll make it a simple black and white. A temperature gauge, making it warm or cool. Tinting the photos. Sepia tones. And finally the sharpness. Turning it down, which I don't know why you would really do that, maybe for some sort of a stylized photo, or up. Again, sometimes people find out about sharpness and they think it's going to make all their photos look better, but you have to be careful because it can make them more pixelated. So those are some basic functions. Pretty good for just some quick photo edits. Maybe if you want to turn up the brightness, or maybe if you want photo look a little dark. Maybe I don't like that glaring sun in the background. You can play around with it and you'll get the hang of it. And remember, you can always reset it. Now for drawings, here's a few more tips. This is the way that I like to edit some of my illustrations to make them look less of like a photo that I took and more like a scanned illustration. So here's a drawing I did of a scene from Office Space, and the first thing that I want to do is rotate it. So there's two ways I can do that. If I go up to Tools, I can hit Rotate Left, Rotate Right. I could also flip it if I wanted to. And remember, you can always edit and undo, or Command Z. It's your best friend for anything on the computer. Or I can hit Command and R, and that's going to rotate it to the right. Now I can look, there's still some at the bottom and the top that I want to clip out. Command and then the minus sign to zoom out, Command plus to zoom in. Another great trick. Now if I want to crop it, all I have to do is click and drag the area I want to save. Let's say I let go a little too soon. I can anchor in the corners to move it around. And when I have it where I want it, I can hit crop over here in the tools section or Command K. So now I like the way it's cropped, it's rotated the right way, but I want to make this look a little bit less like it was a photo taken on my phone, which it was. But if I go into the tools over here, now here's what I personally like to do. You could do it with levels, but I feel like it takes a lot of fidgeting with it and you never really get it so great. I mean, that might look a little bit better if I reset it, but I think for black and white drawings especially, these are going to be your best friends. Exposure, contrast, saturation, and even a little bit of the highlights and shadows. So what I like to do is, if you turn the exposure up a little bit, you're going to get a little bit more of those whites without losing your dark lines. Now, especially if you make the contrast up a little bit, and not too much up. Do you see how it's getting very pixelated? And it's starting to not really retain the original drawing. But if you turn the contrast and exposure up just a little bit, you're not really losing the drawing. You're not really embellishing anything that wasn't there too much, but you are blowing out kind of that original shadow. Now I could also go into the saturation, and if I turn that down a little bit, it's going to get rid of all that kind of hue that's kind of surrounding it, that little shadow or that glow. So if I turn the saturation down, it's going to be mostly black and white. You can play around with the highlights a little bit or the shadows if you want, but I think mostly the exposure, contrast, and saturation are going to really make it look a little bit less like it was just photographed and more like it was scanned. So if you're done and you're not sure if this is what you want, you can always duplicate it, and you're going to title up here. So let's just title it copy. It'll save a copy, and then I can always go back into here and reset it all. So let's take a look at these two photos, before and after. And that's just using the preview app that comes free. Any MacBook has it. It's super useful for quick edits. Obviously it's not as powerful as Photoshop, but for basic photo editing it can really get the job done. That's it for today. Thanks for watching.